Let's take a look at the profit and loss scenarios in put options. Now, let's take a look at when the buyer realizes a loss and the seller realizes a profit. Jack buys the put option from Tiffany for $5. At expiration, what happens if the stock price has moved higher? Let's say Jack was expecting Apple to move back to the $67 strike price we were referring to in the call option scenario we just went through. But however, let's begin to think about what happens if we take a position and we are on the wrong side of the way the stock is moving. Jack has purchased this put option for $5. If the stock is above his strike price by $5 or more, he is going to take a complete loss, and Tiffany is going to retain the $5 that she brought in initially. So this is similar to what happens with the call option, except we're just looking at what happens if we are taking the position. And when I say position, I don't want to confuse the word position with the actual strike price, but we are taking the opinion and have the opinion about which way the stock is going to move. Now let's take a look at what happens when the buyer realizes a profit and the seller realizes a loss. Assuming at expiration, the stock has moved in the direction Jack wants it to move and has moved down. You can see that he purchased the $50 strike price for $5. If you calculate the option premium, which I continue to repeat because I continue to see that not being factored in when adhering to the trading plan. So we really need to make sure that we capture that break-even point either before we close the trade or before we allow it to expire on the day of expiration. So now that we can see that the stock price is $39, Jack was correct. His research, his decision to purchase a put option on stock, let's call it Amazon or Apple, or in this case, Tesla. Tesla is a stock that actually is really, there are a lot of puts bought on Tesla, and it is a difficult thing to do to buy a put because you have to time it correctly. But with that being said, the stock price closes at $39 a share. Jack has made a $6 profit because he has made his option premium outlay back, and he has made some money on the stock price because it has moved a significant amount below the actual premium price. Let's take a look at when no one realizes a profit or loss. This is going to be similar to what happens with the call option. It's just going to be on the downside. If the stock hits the exact price between the strike price and the premium paid and the premium received, the market will convert the stocks into what it was purchased as the strike price in comparison to what it's selling on the open market. And both people will end up not making any money. This is where buying puts, you have a different set of circumstances when it comes to the unlimited aspect. So when you buy a put, you are expecting the stock to move lower. Now, if the stock moves lower, you hope it moves lower to the point where you have a gain. I mean, that's what the obvious goal is. And a lot of times, buying puts is a difficult thing to do because you have to time it correctly. However, with buying a put, your initial outlay is the premium. So in this case, $50. with a $5 premium. Anything below that break even is going to be gains for Jack. However, instead of having an unlimited gain, because the call option can go as high as it would like to go based on the underlying stock, because the stock has no cap. In a position where you are going down, you can only go to zero. So Tiffany's max loss is the difference between the strike price, the stock price, and zero. Now, she did bring in a premium. However, if you are going to see a stock go to zero, that premium is not going to offset much of the loss. So if the stock price is above the strike price, the person who purchased the put, and in this scenario, that's Jack, he's going to take a 100% loss because of the fact that the stock moved higher and his position, both his opinion and the position he purchased, which was that put option, did not work out. And the stock moved higher, therefore he took a 100% loss. And I want to make sure that I reiterate, most option buyers take a 100% loss at some point. However, if they are buying options more often than not, they're going to lose roughly 8 out of 10 times. Now, Tiffany's profit is capped at whatever the option premium is that she brought in. The profit and loss diagram for the put options is a little bit different simply because the break even is where you have the strike price minus the premium, and then that's for the seller. And then for the buyer, you really can only make the strike price down to zero, minus what you paid for the option. So simply put, when the buyer of a put option has a limited profit potential and the seller has a limited loss potential, simply because the stock can only go to zero. And that affects both the buyer and the seller, because the buyer can only make, like we said, the stock at $67 a share, buying the $50 strike price. The stock can only go to zero, and Tiffany and Jack can only make and lose that specific number. I want to thank everybody again for hanging in there with me. Please stick with me for lesson 5, as it will begin shortly. Thank you.